Hey everyone, this is Rock from StageInTheSky.com, and this one, as I'm sure you can tell by the title, it's going to be a fun one. This one is going to talk about the rise of the manosphere and how the title says how it's ruined dating for millennials, but I apologize for the clickbaity title because I can't entirely say that the manosphere has ruined the way millennials date in so much as it's really changed the way we date, because make no mistake, there are some great things that have come from the rise of the manosphere, but when experience is passed down in the absence of godly wisdom, the manosphere and the advice that you get from people, it can also be destructive and do more harm than good. Alright, so let's get into it. Here is the 6 of 8 main points. I've already talked about the hookup culture, the Tinder, the catcalling, the gynocentrism, and then the last one was about Brett Kavanaugh. This one I'm going to try to work on my presentation a little bit because I think the Brett Kavanaugh video, I was like talking way too fast. That's my natural, I was just speeding through it. So I'm going to have a little bit more fun. We're going to have a conversation here, okay? So, the manosphere. The rise of the manosphere was a reaction to how gynocentric the mainstream culture has become, okay? And if you don't know what gynocentric means, check out my video below. The manosphere is a counterculture. It's the result of men adapting to a society that's shown them no love, no appreciation, or little to no reward for the hard work, the sacrifices, or the very essence of who we are as men.
Do you think men are important? Like for what?
What can men do leaving here? Be better.
Catherine Q. Becker is accused of cutting off her husband with a knife, taking his and throwing it into the garbage disposal. She goes, that'll teach him.
George, I know you want to say something right now.
I'll tell you, I'm envious of women, okay? I'm not saying your problems get solved, but at least they're taken seriously.
There is an implicit bias around women's emotions. Women absolutely see their emotions as more important than men's.
There's something ominous happening. The male suicide rate is scary. The number of men that are just choosing to be single and live alone for the rest of their lives is scary. The number of men that don't even want to identify as men anymore is scary.
Well, traditional masculinity not only is harmful, but could also lead to homophobia and sexual harassment.
We need to kill all men.
To create a curfew for men on the streets after 6 p.m.
We didn't talk about what men were dealing with for a long time. It led to this. Now someone starts talking about it, you're like, don't speak about it.
Threats against women are literally everywhere. I find it 100% ironic that I have received more disrespect from women on this platform than I've ever received from men in my entire life.
We've gotten to a point in society where you can't even talk to a woman about anything that she disagrees with, or she'll go crazy.
I'm gonna find you and hang you, Andrew Tate. I'm gonna take a big shot and stick it in your...
She literally just threatened to Andrew Tate. Imagine if he did that.
Kill male babies, just kill any man that you see, like in the street.
What the hell are we gonna do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up, these men, they're doing impossible things. They're under the streets, working on the sewers, they're up on the power lines, in the storms and the rain. They're keeping this impossible infrastructure functioning.
The manosphere is a reaction to the divorce laws, the injustices surrounding false accusations, the priority placed on women at the expense of men. That's why it's often compared to the Matrix and Red Pill analogies. Before men learned the truth, it was like the rest of us were living in an augmented reality that was programmed into us since we were children. That girls are sugar, spice, and everything nice, while boys are snips and snails and puppy dog tails. When you take the Red Pill, and Red Pill, again, it's just an analogy for enlightenment. Now you know what's going on, right? When you take the Red Pill, whether it's the manosphere or for me it was Christianity and reading the Bible from cover to cover, you become aware of what's really going on in the world. A lot of men, they're still living in that blue pill mentality because they either fit in with the modern culture or they've gone unscathed by the collateral damage of what's happened over decades. There are a lot of good Christian couples who have no idea what's going on, and God bless them, they don't need to know, right? But for the rest of us, the manosphere was definitely needed. If you go to Wikipedia right now and look up manosphere, it'll say, well, the manosphere is a collection of websites, blogs, and online forums promoting masculinity, misogyny, and opposition to feminism. But this is a common tactic to discredit anything that they don't want you to pay attention to. Seriously, anything that sprouts up with the emphasis on helping men, the mainstream seeks to stamp it out. I remember Jordan Peterson giving an interview once where a woman asked, well, I heard that your primary audience is mostly men. Don't you think you should focus on women too? A couple of things. First, let's not act like over 80% of the mainstream TV programs, reality shows, and daytime talk shows are primarily, exclusively, focused on promoting and helping women. Even if they have a man on as a guest, it's rare that the host will take his side over the woman unless the woman has broken some kind of girl code, or they simply just can't justify her actions no matter how badly they want to. Check out this clip.
I had to work. This kid would pick up his 2 little sisters, make sure that they eat, make sure their homework was done.
Yeah, I did things, and I'm still that kid. I'm still that kid.
I haven't seen him in 10 years.
I'm depressed. I'm tired.
Okay.
I'm tired. I'm just tired. I'm hurt.
You know, Vivica, I want to say, I don't feel anything. This is all something that, as an alcoholic, I'm very familiar with. It's the woe is me story, the oh I'm so sorry, well feel sorry for me because I was deprived of this, that, and the other thing, and I was raised really well, just like this kid was.
Man, that clip, it really, I'll have the link down below so you can go to the comment section because, man, like, I mean, it's unanimous. Everyone knows how messed up those people were when it comes to treating that man. Okay, let me continue. Secondly, what if I told you that there are some issues where you just can't be fair and balanced? Yes, men and women both have issues that we need to work on, but some issues are more severe than others. When you put too much effort in trying to be fair, you end up watering down the serious issues that should demand most of the focus. In today's culture, men do not have a lot of spaces where they can speak up and be honest about their feelings, because very often their honest feelings and opinions, it comes off as criticism against women. And because a woman's feelings are prioritized over men's, that man is shut down, just like that video with Vivica Fox. There you have a man who's deeply depressed to the point that he's crying his eyes out on national television because he had a tough time growing up, right? And did he get any love? Did he get any sympathy? No, they belittled and criticized him and crapped all over him for having a supposed drinking problem. It lends weight to the rising adage that men don't speak up because then they'll have to apologize for how their feelings made a woman feel. And because a lot of our sorrow does stem from our desire to love or be loved by a woman, compounded by the bad advice we get from other men and their narrow-minded stereotypes of how real men should behave, a lot of men just don't speak up. They suffer in silence, thinking to themselves, what's the point? Does anyone even care? Check out this clip right here.
A grave digger. I bury people for a living.
Dang, no way, bro. Are you serious?
Yeah. So sometimes it's like fucking depressing.
Oh.
So I get up, I'm depressed because of my issues, and I go to work, and I'm burying people.
Damn, bro.
It's like, fuck, I can't catch a break. And then I ended up putting my AirPods in one day. I knew that you had a show or a podcast, and I started listening to it, and dude, that's all I do now. All day long.
Wow, man, that's crazy to even think that I'm doing a podcast and somebody that's digging graves is listening to it, bro.
That's literally what I'm doing, like while I'm digging graves. I'm listening to your podcast. I'm not trying to be corny, but it's been the only thing that's put a smile on my face, made me laugh. I just love listening to it every day, dude.
Thanks, bro. Well, I appreciate it, man. That means a lot, dude. I'm glad that when any of us have some little thing in life to look forward to, you know, and that's one reason why I feel like, you know, when you talked about God, I was like, dang, bro, you just never know when we can be that for somebody. Any of us, dude.
And I was like, you know, I'm going to write it, just tell them, that, you know, cheer up, not be so hard on themselves. You need to ease up, man.
It's funny, I don't even notice it. It's just the way that I'm built, but I appreciate that, man.
I think you just need to realize you're a special, good person, man. And I think if you knew how good of a person you are and how much you help, you know, everybody and people that listen to you, I think you wouldn't be so hard on yourself. You help.
Thanks, bro.
You help me a lot, brother. So.
Well, I
appreciate you calling me, bro. You don't know what this is doing to me right now.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I think we all just need to hear that somebody thinks that we're important or that, like, we matter, you know? Well, don't be hard on yourself, man. I love you, bro.
I love you too, man. I appreciate you calling me.
All right, you bet, man. Be good, dog.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, peace, baby. Man, bro. Man, I don't even know why that made me kind of emotional, bro. I think we all want to hear somebody tell us that we're okay, you know, or we all want to. Man, I don't even know, man. That shit got me some type of way right now, bro. We're all just trying to be okay, and somehow this world has made it kind of tough sometimes.
So there you have it. Little by little, the manosphere evolved, where one man after another finally spoke up on sensitive and emotional issues that other men were either too embarrassed, lacked the courage, or lacked the strength to say. Other men listened. They supported the message. Before you knew it, you had this thing that exists. The Manosphere is indeed a collection of speakers, content creators, forums, and the users, the commenters, who all engage in discussions about male-centric ideas, male issues, the challenges we face in today's society. It's also a source of encouragement, right? It's also the sharing of information to help others overcome and succeed in this new world that we do live in. This was needed. This was needed because for a lot of millennial men, we don't have the support, the families that our fathers and grandfathers had. Or when we do talk to the older generation, the boomers are so far removed from today's culture that they end up giving good-natured advice, but bad advice based on the women they used to deal with. A lot of us are 90s kids who were raised with the old school values that conflict with the loose morality of today's culture. And before my fellow Christians chime in with, well, that's what God's for, that's what reading the Bible's for. My brothers and sisters, unless you live in a convent or a tight-knit community where you're blessed with only dealing with no one other than people who think and act like you, the rest of us have to survive in this satanic and secular world. The Bible fortifies us with a strong morality and love for God's ultimate justice, but if not for the Manosphere or communities like the Manosphere, a lot of us Christians will be oblivious and vulnerable to a lot of things I'm about to discuss. Are there some bad apples in the Manosphere who spew hateful and harmful rhetoric? Absolutely. But you get the same thing in other movements like Black Lives Matter and of course feminism. So let's get into it. As it relates to dating, I'd argue that the strongest message pushed by the Manosphere to other millennials is that you should not get married. Due to the laws, the government, feminism, social media, hypergamy, and a lack of moral standards, the risks far outweigh the rewards. And since most women have either bought into the hookup culture or they lack the strength and discipline to resist casual sex, these men have no incentive to get married. That's right, ladies. I guarantee you, over half the men in the Manosphere, I'm talking the most alpha male, masculine, whoever, I dominate, whatever, those men would not be spreading the message of don't get married if women didn't actively give up sex before marriage. That being said, I do truly believe that a lot of men who are in the Manosphere, we do still want to get married. But as Manosphere Highlight Daily likes to says, he just says, hey, you're going to do it, just know the risk. Protect yourself at all costs. All right, so let's talk about the negatives with the Manosphere, okay? I want to talk about negatives so we can end on a positive note. I've been trying to work on that. First off, the most obvious problem is the hookup culture. Now, I've taken ladies to task for this in the other entries, like the hookup culture video, but I'm gonna hit the men with this one because within the Manosphere, it's not uncommon for men to give other men advice like, "Hey, if she don't let you smash in the first few dates, then she's not into you." Hey, MTR likes to say she's for recreational use only. That means that hey, don't get married to this woman, but just have sex with her outside of wedlock. That's not good, fellas. All sex outside of marriage is wrong. Casual sex, wrong. It's sexual immorality. Sex is for marriage, okay? I know, because it's so widespread and casual and everyone seems to be so accepting of it, it sounds weird and stuck up for someone to say it's wrong, right? Because then you have to ask, says who? Why is it wrong? Who is it hurting? I already explained how stupid the hookup culture was in the video, but know this. If you're out here having sex outside of wedlock, you are part of the problem. Just like guys who simp by giving up money to the women on OnlyFans, they're incentivizing them to get naked and pose for pictures. The men who indulge in hookup culture, men who expect sex before marriage after just a few dates, they put pressure on good, decent women. Fellas, this is where we should be leading. The pickup artists, the Chads and Tyrones who don't care about honor and responsibility, there's no changing them, okay? Criminals are going to be criminals. That's why they call it criminals. But here's where we good men should resist the current culture and lead by example. To that end, I am of the opinion that there are many in the Manosphere who don't engage in hookup culture. Sure, we like to listen to the likes of Darnovan Sharp and the Fresh and Fit podcast where everyone's talking about being an alpha male who's supposedly dripping with women. But if most of us are really getting laid, so to speak, will we even be listening to Red Pill content? Think about it. Most of us who watch Red Pill content, we're looking for advice because the dating culture is not working for us, right? If I had gotten married to a good woman when I was 21 and stayed happily married, I'd probably have no clue about any of the Manosphere. I wouldn't have no clue. I wouldn't need to know. But because I do have to navigate this dating culture, it makes sense why a lot of us would turn to men who are more experienced and seasoned on these rough seas, okay? Even so, I'd encourage you to take their advice with a grain of salt. I tell my little brother, I put some of them onto this. I'm like, hey man, take the advice with a grain of salt, all right? The Bible is our ultimate compass. God is our leader. He is our Heavenly Father. Not Donovan Sharp, not the Godfather, Kevin Samuels, but God is, okay? Look who's talking to you. Ask yourself, do you really want to be that guy, okay? Do you think God would approve of the behavior, all right? I have the scriptures up right here. Moving on. I'd argue that the most obvious and dangerous effect that the manosphere can have on men is when we're constantly showing the worst of the worst when it comes to behavior for women. There are hundreds, like this video that I have up. This is just a compilation. This number 295 from Mr. Moments channel. That means there's over 295 compilation videos where people have put together these compilations of just how stupid and entitled and wicked and immoral my generation really is.
I think that you should just be a slut. Women, sleep with who you want to sleep with. Do it however much you want to.
I f***ed 3 dudes in one night.
I went to a party. I had with 3 different guys in one night. I cheated on my boyfriend with a guy I told him not to worry about.
If he goes on vacation with his boys, I am cheating.
I think women should stop sleeping with men, to be honest.
When I'm in a relationship, I don't believe in spending my money on my man.
Like many women, I didn't need a man to buy my house, to buy my car, or keep my lights on. We don't need you guys for anything.
I don't want a son because they're the problem.
You know, and it's not just a compilation, it's the panel shows. Think Fresh and Fit or whatever, or it's complicated channels, or just pearly things, you know? Like these women are being interviewed, and it's like, when you listen to what they say and how they view sex and marriage and relationships, it really isn't enough to make you dry up all hope and lose faith. If we're not careful, the manosphere can twist our minds into thinking that most, if not all, women are like these idiots that we see in these videos. Sometimes I have to catch myself and I ask, this is what I have to ask myself, Rock. Of the population of women in the United States, what percentage do you honestly believe are like the women who appear in these videos? Think about your female friends, your cousins, your sisters, your co-workers. Are any of them like the ones you see in these videos? If they are, you need to leave. You need to disassociate yourself from those people, okay? Because I can tell you in my life, in my world, I don't know any women like the ones I see in these videos. So I have to tell myself, I have to remind myself, bro, there are bad apples out there just like there are bad men out there. All women don't like this, okay? But if you watch enough of these videos, these compilations where only idiots are speaking for women and boasting about their rotten behavior, yeah, it runs the risk of making you think that all women are like that, especially when you see the comments, oh my god, that are flooded with other women. Yes, girl, slay! You know, giving it thousands of likes. You gotta remind yourself, look, these are idiots. There are good women out there. No lie, I joined a new church community recently and I went to a Wednesday night meeting where I heard out of a woman's mouth, we were talking about being generous, and she's like, yeah, you know, I do think it's important to save up, you know, and to live within your means. I've never heard that come out of an American woman's mouth, but I heard it for the first time on Wednesday. You know, she's married, so all power to her husband, but it's like, that gives you hope. Like, there are women, I wanted to be like, dude, do you have any sisters or cousins? Come on, you know, but there are good women out there, okay? The next negative way that the manosphere can corrupt others is when we start to see men and worship these high-value males as role models, right? We see their cars, their life, the private jets, the money, and the hottest women. So we buy into their philosophies, their worldviews on life and relationships, failing to realize that they are part of the problem. As Oscar from Sigma Frame posts, the irony about Andrew Tate and all the pickup artists is that they claim to be rebelling against the current cultural feminist agenda when in fact they're embracing it. I couldn't agree more. The sex revolution and indulgence of hookup culture doesn't benefit all of society or most men, as I alluded to earlier, or as a lot of women are led to believe. It only benefits amoral men. When I say amoral men, here's the definition right here. It only benefits amoral men who have no problem in sleeping around with no commitment or exclusive relationships. I can't overstate this point enough because I've seen plenty of videos where women like to say, well, it's easy for men to get sex, but that's because the average man is invisible to these ladies.
It's a very small percentage of men that are sleeping with all the women. Like, it's a very, like, if you want a guy that's over 6 foot, that's 15% of men. You want him to be cute, cut that in half. You want him to make money, cut that in half. It's a very small percentage of men that are sleeping with all the girls. Like, every girl has a guy in their friend zone that would treat them well, and they know would treat them well, and they know likes them. And it's like, we don't pick them. And then we're gonna cry because the guy we picked is bad to us, but you could have picked the guy in the friend zone.
If the only ones they're paying attention to are the hot guys that every woman wants, it makes sense why they think or assume that it's easy for men to have sex. Because the one that they want to have sex with, you know, like, that's all they see. Back before Andrew Tate really blew up, I already knew about him, right? A lot of these guys I knew about before, you know, like world star started blowing him up. I had seen Andrew Tate's interview with Fresh and Fit podcast where I learned about his background, his views, and some of his business dealings. I knew he used to run a webcam business, and the police busting out his doors and hauling him off the jail is nothing new, right? That happened to him in England. Andrew Tate has done a lot of good when it comes to encouraging men to pick up their chins and work hard, right? To not settle for the mediocrity or conform to a feminized society. He embraces toxic masculinity. He brags about this, and of course you gotta take that on the chin too, because he's not saying, it's sort of like you say, you know what, you're a jerk because you won't let me go out, looking like a slut. Okay, then I'm a jerk. That's what he means when he says that he embraces toxic masculinity. And because of this, the mainstream hates him. They'll call him a misogynist and use plenty of comments taken out of context to back up their negative views of him. But really, they hate him because he's encouraging men to be men. But still, you have to ask, fellas, what kind of man, what kind of person is Tate encouraging men to be? Let's move on to Kevin Samuels. The death of Kevin Samuels was a heavy blow. For those who don't know, Kevin Samuels was an image consultant who had a background in the Christian ministry. When I first heard Kevin talk, and I listened to his 4-hour-long videos back in 2019, I think it was, I was drawn to him because he had a Christian background. His first couple of videos where he was talking to women, you could hear the Christian advice that I liked. But over the years, he started to branch himself from that, because when you call yourself a Christian, people tend to hold you by that standard. And I don't think Kevin liked that standard. The unique thing about Kevin Samuels was that he was able to have constructive conversations with black women. How is that unique? Well, generally speaking, black women have a reputation for their attitudes, for being stubborn and unruly during confrontational debates, especially when they're losing them. As Kevin puts it, sign language is the tendency to use shame, insult, guilt, and their need to be right when it comes to conversations. Kevin Samuels was rare in the public space in that he had the discipline, patience, and eloquence to withstand the verbal barrage, to ask questions, to keep them on topic, and eventually he did help a lot of women, help a lot of black women. A lot of couples were made by him, or he had a hand in bringing couples together. The problem with Kevin Samuels, as I alluded to, was despite his Christian background, in his last 2 years of fame and prominence, he encouraged people to play Satan's game to win. Meaning, instead of encouraging people to put God first, he championed this notion of being a high-value man here on earth. What's a high-value man? But just to sum it up, here are the 6 main points. A high-value man is a man who's making over $10K a month. He's doing that consistently for over 3 to 5 years. He has group acceptance by other high-value men. He has a network of high-value men. He has visibility. That's through LinkedIn and all these social platforms. And he has utility. He's useful to others. Those are the 6 main points. This is what a lot of women would call into his show and say that they want. And this is the kind of men that Kevin encouraged other men to be. Now, if you don't believe in God or care about living by Christ's standards, you might not see anything wrong with that. But for those of us who do call ourselves Christians, followers of Christ, what I see in his points about what a high-value man is a lot of value, faith, and dependency placed on money and the love of other human beings, instead of our priorities, our minds, and our hearts being on what God thinks of us. But Rock, you can do both. You can be rich, loved by humans, and still do what's good in God's eyes. I'm not saying that's impossible or that doesn't exist, but God judges our heart. You look at all these pastors with the Bentleys and the big homes. God judges our hearts, right? You can't serve both him and money. That's at Matthew 6:24. So if you endeavor to be Kevin Samuels' version of a high-value man, but also claim to put God first, trust me when I say God knows the truth. You can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to him. From what I saw, there was plenty of conversations where Kevin Samuels openly talked about how high-value men had every right to exercise options, to sleep around with more than just one woman. He told women that if they wanted a high-value man, they should accept the fact that he's going to cheat on them. And the sad thing is, a lot of women appear to agree.
You stay with a cheating millionaire boyfriend or be with a broke, loyal guy? Keep it 100, man.
That's a hard one, huh?
Keep it 100.
Broken, loyal, or cheating?
He's giving the lifestyle. He's amazing, great connection, but from time to time, he steps out and cheats.
But is it
It's
cheating?
like an open relationship.
Yeah, is this an open relationship?
No, close on your end, open on his end.
That's shit.
Why can't I have that?
Why he gotta be broke? This is hard. I'm taking the cheater too.
Yeah.
This point about being a high-value man and having the right to cheat, this is probably one of the stupidest, most rotten things that I saw coming out of the Manosphere. Like Fresh and Fit, it's particularly Myron Gaines. He says this all the time when he's talking to ladies. One of the worst conversations I saw with Kevin Samuels was this lady, Canada Dry. I have her up on the screen. In this conversation, the woman asked Kevin for advice after the man she was pursuing broke up after a month because she didn't want to become intimate too soon. She didn't want to put out. Kevin's advice for her was similar to the advice that he gave a lot of women, that men have needs and if you want him, you need to put out. And I mean, I tell you, man, I mean, there are plenty of opportunities for Kevin to drop some wise Christian logic on this woman that would have done her more good. Like, hey, you know what you should do? Forget about that guy and go look for a man who's willing to wait. Instead, as I said, Kevin's focus was on helping people succeed in Satan's world by playing Satan's game, i.e. engage in the hookup culture, pursue money, career, and higher status. Hold up, Rock. There's nothing wrong with getting money and leveling up in the world. Yes, but why are you doing it? Because you're right. If you happen to be an engineer or entrepreneur and you're doing it because 1, you're good at it, 2, you see a purpose in it, 3, you actually enjoy what you do, I think that's awesome. The money and materialistic things are just a blessing that comes along with the fruit of your labor. That's at Proverbs 10 verse 4, where it says, no, idle hands create poverty, diligent hands create riches. Now, if your argument is that you should pursue money, status, and resources because that's how you get women, what happens if you lose it? What happens if you lose your job? What happens if you get hurt so you can't work like you used to? Now you can't provide the lifestyle that she married you for. Now what? Does that mean she can leave you and you're supposed to be cool with it? Because that's what happens in a world where they believe they can live life without God's wisdom and guidance. But Rock, no woman ever loves you for just being you. Everyone, even all of society, they only care about what a man can provide. If he can't provide, he's useless and deserves to die off alone. We've heard this in the Manosphere time and time again. No woman ever loves you. They love you for what you can provide. This is why we seek the kingdom of heaven, right? I know that sounds like, I don't want to hear that. I know, if you're not a Christian, all this is going to sound infuriating and annoying. But as Christians, we seek first the kingdom of heaven because it's sentiments like that that drives a lot of men to suicide. First off, it's not true that all women love you for just what you can provide. There are women out there who love you for you. Secondly, there's more to life, the gift of life, than being a slave to the world, being a slave to the trends. It's called being self-sufficient. If you don't know how, learn, right? You don't have to keep being the sheep. You can be a shepherd. And no, I don't want to be the wolf because a good shepherd can take out the wolf to protect his flock. Believe that. The next negative thing about the Manosphere is if it isn't teaching men how to disregard Christian principles to be a high-value men, some parts of the Manosphere do actually teach men to just be selfish assholes. For those who don't know, this is Alpha Male Strategies. He is a content creator with over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. I learned about him way back in 2018, and while I do appreciate his insights on the women he's experienced in life, he used to work as a bouncer and knows the club scene well, his solutions for dealing with what he saw, they're disappointing.
Don't survive. You only got to be concerned with yourself. That's what alpha males are. Selfish, narcissistic motherfuckers. We ain't worried about nobody else's feelings. You waste your time, tough shit.
One thing that's not talked about with status guys that, very few people talk about status, is just being a ladies man. All right, I had a patron supporter a while back said he didn't want to get a bad reputation at school with women because he's dating multiple women. That's what you want. Because women are backwards as hell. All right, that's what they want.
AMS and creators like him encourage the audience to essentially be jerks, to lie and treat women like crap, exploiting the situation by thinking only of themselves in relationships because 1, they feel that women don't like nice guys and actually love the men who treat them like crap. And 2, instead of being the bigger man and just doing what's good because it's the right thing to do, they believe in this mentality of treating others exactly how you treat us. I.e., if you're gonna be a dick to me, I'm gonna be a dick to you. No. Even some Christians think that, hey, if someone's talk crap to you, talk crap back to them. No. I'm not saying I don't do that because, I'm human just like everyone else. Like, if you push me, chances are I'm gonna strike back. That's a reaction, right? It's not premeditated, it's a reaction. But we as Christians should be striving to live by Christ's standards. And again, if you don't know that, pick up the Bible. It's the most published book in the world. To be clear, I understand why Alpha Male Strategies is giving this kind of advice, right? For example, one of his advice is that a man should never make a woman feel like she's too important to him, or how he shouldn't give her compliments because it shows that he's weak. What AMS is saying makes sense, and it does work when it comes to dealing with a type of woman. The bad bitches, the women who call themselves the prize and care about that, like that status. Oh, I'm the prize. I am the prize. I am the table. Like those types. Like what AMS is saying works for them. I'd argue that it's also for the type of woman who's comfortable and prefers conflict, drama, and dysfunction over calm, peace, and stability. This is not the type of woman you want to be with, fellas. It's not the type of person you get married to and bring home to the family. And no, this isn't a black thing. I've seen this for white women as well.
I hate nice guys, so let me help you out. Here are 3 nice guy traits to avoid. Stop sending exclamation points and emojis. Who am I texting? My best girlfriend? You're texting like this because you think it'll make you more relatable. I want a man. You can make me feel comfortable without giving me feminine vibes. Stop putting my needs before yours. Why do you think Chad is getting my attention?
If these women, like the women you just saw, are the type of women you're running into, of course AMS is going to sound like Nostradamus the way he's spitting out facts, because he understands this type of woman well. Here's where I disagree with AMS. One thing every man can agree on, even Donovan Sharp, is that you have to, if you choose to get married, it's important that you pick the right woman. If you behave the way that AMS is suggesting, and she responds favorably to you acting like a jerk and treating her like she doesn't matter, is that the right woman for you? If she's the type who gets turned off by kindness and smile and romantic gestures and emojis, if you like giving them, and you treating her like she really is important to you, is that the right woman for you? Right? Like there are people, oh, I don't like nice guys. Okay, well, I'm a nice person. I'm not sure if I'm fitting to your stereotype of what a nice guy is, but I mean, I was raised to treat people with love and respect, peace and kindness. If that hurts you, if you find that repulsive, then no, you're not the right person for me. Because I can tell you right now, there are a lot of inexperienced, short-sighted people who think, dude, you're giving her way too much power if you let her know how much it means to you. I always thought that was the dumbest mentality. First off, I don't care if she thinks she has all that power over me, right? Let her, fine. If I really do like her, that's the truth. Right? She really does have some power over your heart, and if you come to trust her, she'll get more of it. But just because I want to be with her, it doesn't mean I'll make her my everything. God will always come first. That's why Christian values is so important, because I've been tested, and so far I've been successful in choosing God over secular, amoral women. On that note, fellas, for all you guys who talk about masculinity and what's alpha or whatever, dig this. It is my personal opinion that if you throw your standards, your personal code of right and wrong out the window for the sake of getting that woman, you are not masculine. You are not being a leader. Instead, you are following her. You're bending to her will. You'll tell yourself, oh, well, I'm just doing what it takes to get what I really want. So it's really me who wins. But regardless of the ends, the means requires you to enslave yourself to her. That's not masculine. Not in my book. As I already debunked in my essay about good girls falling for bad boys, that's a cliche. That's a fallacy. Good girls do not fall for bad boys. Let me repeat that. Good girls do not fall for bad boys. If they do, they aren't that good. Instead of encouraging men to act like horrible people, I think a true alpha would stick to his guns when it comes to his morals and what's right and wrong. If you're a gentleman, be a gentleman. If you want to give her compliments, give her a compliment. If you're thinking about her and you want to shoot her a text saying, hey, just thinking about you, hope you're having a good one, do that. And guess what? If she doesn't appreciate it, if she doesn't respond to those things like positivity and affection, or she's creeped out by you simply being yourself, great. What that tells you, ladies and gentlemen, she's not the one for you. I'd rather find out sooner than later. But a lot of you guys who engage in the hookup culture, you're having sex, and because the sex is so good, it's doling down your senses, your ability to see these red flags that the relationship goes on. And it's the dumbest thing. You guys got to stop this. Fellas, I'm talking to you. You got to stop it. And if your argument is that no woman appreciates that behavior, again, I either say you're lying or you're just narrow-minded. These ladies do exist. I dated a few of them. They are few and far between. Sure, Proverbs 31 tells us that. But if I'm going to spend the rest of my life with her, I'd rather be with someone who appreciates me for me than someone who's enamored by who I pretend to be. I'll take that to the grave, 100%. On that note, this is a real problem when it comes to Manosphere. There are many in this male space promoting their stereotypes, which I think is just an effort to encourage everyone to think that their personalities are cool and the epitome of how everyone should be. Look at this picture. I don't know who this guy is. I'm pretty sure he's a decent human being. But how many times are we seeing these videos, these compilations where everyone's encouraging men to be like this? What if that's not you? What if that doesn't want to be you? What if I'm more Fresh Prince of Bel-Air than this guy? Can I be that? Or am I weak for smiling and being lighthearted and chuckling and laughing, wanting to have fun? They'll say things like, well, men can't have any female friends, or that real masculinity is being silent while taking action, which honestly is a clever plot to convince men to just shut up, keep their feelings to themselves, and die off with dignity, which allows the loudest minority to actually swoop in and take power. Another issue I have with the Manosphere is this emphasis on maintaining frame. I hate that so much, because I believe this demeans and reduces the authenticity of who you are as a man. For those who don't know, maintaining frame is about keeping your composure and keeping your feelings in check, and essentially not acting like a woman, especially when you're around your woman. Here is where men are constantly encouraging men to be these stoic. You hear this a lot. You've been seeing it in the comment section, right? Stoicism, strong silent type, stoicism. And again, even if this is what women want, if that's not who you are, what are you gonna do about it? All right, you cannot be so close-minded to think that all men are the same or that all women are the same. How many times have we heard women complain about men being emotionally unavailable? Yeah, right, they'll say that though, but the moment you do get emotional and cry and allow yourself to be vulnerable on her, she'll instantly lose respect for you. That image she has of you to be the strong rock and her refuge and protector, that will go away. Take that to the grave. How's that? I don't believe that, fellas. Let me rephrase. I do believe that a majority of my fellow millennial peers are like that, but not all. Right? And to be honest, I grew up in a religious oppressive household where I had to keep my opinions to myself or face punishment because what I wanted to do, how I thought, what I felt, it usually went against the religion of my strict parents. That house felt like a prison. I hated that for 5 years until I graduated high school, and I wasted little time to get out from under my parents' roof. Why in God's green earth would I ever marry someone who will eventually place me in that same situation where I can't be open and honest, where I have to maintain frame or can't unburden myself to my woman who I swear to spend the rest of my life with? Last December, one of the most important people in my life was killed at the age of 26. She was my cousin, but I always saw her as a little sister. I was there when she was a baby. I watched her grow up. I love this girl to death. When I got the call that she had been murdered, I mean, dude, if I was married and my wife was in the room, she would have witnessed the emotional scene of a 6'3", 230-pound black man crying in an outburst of pain and anger and rage and agony. It was literally one of the worst days of my life. If seeing that meant my wife would lose respect for me or that the image she had for me was ruined, I messed up. I should have never married her. That's on me. Fellas, you have a choice. Almost everything presented in the Manosphere is based on opinion, stats, or someone's personal experience, but they aren't absolutes. Equipped with knowledge, you have to choose what you believe. You have to choose how you want to live, which path to take. If my path means my dying alone, single, and childless, I'll gladly take that over the hostage imprisonment of marriage to someone who I have to pretend to be something that they build up in their minds. And I say that half serious because I believe if you pick the right woman, you can avoid a lot of these problems, right? She's out there. Pray that you find her. Pray to have the strength, patience, and wisdom and discipline to resist all temptations until you do. And in the meantime, you got plenty of productive things you could do with your life, right? A lot of couples struggle after they get married, but by the grace of God, I don't think I will. It's a beautiful thing to actually like working and being productive. Seriously, I do enjoy working more than being on vacation. All that out of the way, let's get to the positives. All right, so as it relates to dating, there are a lot of positives when it comes to Manosphere. Part of the reason why the Manosphere exists is because unlike past generations, a lot of young millennials, they grew up without their fathers in the household, especially in the black community. Over 70% of us are born in fatherless households. So they grow up lacking role models and male leadership to teach them what it means to be a man, so to speak. That's not to demean women. Some single mothers do a great job in raising their sons. Then there are mothers who are so heavily leaning into their feminine nature, their feelings of, if it feels right, it must be good, that they end up failing their sons. Even for those of us who grew up with old school fathers, I mean, we were essentially raised to be white knights, to be nice guys around women, to treat women with respect and be super romantic, buy them flowers, etc., never hit them. The red pills from the Manosphere have opened our eyes to what's really going on, right? Things like hypergamy, or how some women use foodie calls, or how they do go for the bad boys. You know, like the Manosphere teaches us what red flags to look out for. That's why a lot of young men develop a sense of loyalty to the male figures who did give them all the advice that ended up changing their lives for the better. Men like Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, Kevin Samuels, Rich Cooper, Donovan Sharp, Greg Adams, Myron Gaines. All these men, they're constantly getting emails and super chat from men thanking them for the advice that kept them from really checking out. And then what happens? The mainstream catches wind on how their advice is undercutting the mainstream effort to keep men from seeing their true potential, basically. So the Manosphere must be stopped. They must be discredited. They must be labeled something nefarious so you won't share it on Facebook or risk being ostracized by your peers or losing your job. And despite all the calls for men's mental health awareness, right? Time and time again, I'm like, dude, they don't care. They do not care one iota about men's mental health awareness. Men have learned that if their honest opinions, if their feelings get in the way of what a woman wants, or paint the women in bad light, that man's feelings will get stomped all over. So that's why you have men are just passing down advice that they learn from their own life experiences.
This is why the red pill went mainstream. They're telling on themselves. And men with experience are literally handing down knowledge to men without it and telling them what they're gonna run into. And it's play by play. You can write this shit in a book, and a lot of them just constantly repeat the same pattern in life. Exercise options, enjoy my 20s when I'm my highest value, start getting older, start getting anxiety, start trying to settle with a beta bob, tries to cope with being single, ends up buying a cat, dies alone.
The advice from the older men is necessary because without it, we wouldn't have learned things like alpha fucks and beta bucks. For those who don't know, this is what's the tendency that women, they tend to go for the bad boys and go for the alphas, the guys they perceive to be alphas. And then once they get knocked up or, they lose, their beauty phase or they let themselves go, that's when they start looking for the beta who has to shell out all the money for children who aren't theirs or provide a lifestyle. And a lot of men, they see this and become resentful. No one wants to become the beta Bob who worked their asses off all through their 20s and 30s to build a future family for themselves, not you, the wife, and then some other man's kids. Only to have these girls who rode the CC, I'm not going to tell you what that means, had their fun, they gave their youth and fertility to the Chads and Tyrones, and now they come seeking good men only once she realized that she's not getting the attention she used to.
Zero statistical advantage. If you use your mind, if you use your head instead of your heart, and you look at the advantages to getting married, there are absolutely and utterly none. And it's very common that women leave, right? Let's stop the man versus woman attack, etc., etc. Life's difficult for everybody. We all have different challenges, different things to go through. But if a woman marries a man and it goes wrong, she has emotional heartbreak, fine. But if a man marries a woman and it goes wrong, he has emotional heartbreak. Plus, everything he has ever worked for is ripped out from underneath him, and he has to give that chick money forever.
In some places, you don't even have to be married.
Exactly.
That's why the men don't want to live with the women either.
That's right. So when you make these rules and these laws, right, under the guise of feminism and equality, all this garbage, all you're doing is scaring men away from commitment.
Andrew Tate blames New Age feminism. I blame apostasy. All right. To men and women such as myself, marriage is more than just a legal binding contract. It's a vow before God that for better or worse, I will forsake all others and never abandon her. Overall, I'm not saying that the manosphere is a problem. I think it's a necessary counterculture to how gynocentric the world's become. But overall, I think the Bible is our ultimate compass. And for all of us who claim to be good men, I mean, you got to ask yourself, what does it mean to be good? What is bad? Who decides that? I mean, is it the community? Because look at the community. I mean, the world's run by the community. And if you don't want to be a part of the world, there are communities out there who separate themselves. They're part of the world, but they separate themselves from living the worldly lifestyle. They're Christian communities, all right? P.S. Before I get to solutions, I also want to point out that in the manosphere, it's not just men, fellas. It's not just men, ladies. There are women who are speaking up, like the Christian Church. I have a link down below where I have a list of female channels that talk about the manosphere and male issues, right? That I think it helps both men and women, because I do think if we as men want things to change and things to get better, I mean, it is going to take more women to get involved to call out some of the stuff, because if they just hear from us fellas, I mean, there's no reason to believe us, but if they hear other women speaking up on it, where there's Kendra K, Melanie King, Pink Bow Lessons, or Just Pearly Things, okay, it's other women too, right? Because, I mean, my next post is about the sisterhood, so look out for that, because the sisterhood is strong. And sad to say, man, because you really do want to ask yourself, hey, look, are you ladies looking to impress other women to marry women, or are you looking to get married to men? Because if you do want to get married to men, it will behoove you to care what men think. All right, let's talk about the solutions. Honestly, as with other posts, awareness and understanding is key. I already alluded to the solution, basically the whole video. It is the coming back to Christ, right? As I'm going to talk about in the final entry in a couple of videos, the lack of Christianity and turning away from Bible principles is the reason why we really do have so much confusion, frustration, contradictions, and dissatisfaction in my millennial generation, right? It really got worse. I mean, especially, I would say from 2010, when Lady Gaga entered the scene and Beyonce did all the single ladies, it just went downhill from there. Big Bang Theory and Glee, and it just snowballed and just kept getting worse and kept getting worse. All right. I do love that more women are speaking up, women like Kendra Davis and Shez Sardé, because that's what I do. If I saw other black men ruining the image that pertains to me, like if I was in the YouTube space when Trayvon Martin was, I would have spoke up and said a lot of stuff, because a lot of people, they speak up for black people, and all black people, we really aren't a monolith. We are not an organization. Everyone thinks differently. I may be the same color as a lot of my people. Doesn't mean we think the same. All right. You hear the way I talk? I don't say, what that thing do? I barely say the N-word, so it's like we're different. When Kevin Samuels died, Melanie King was one of the first new content creators I found. And even she wasn't one of my favorites, because I think she cares more about validation and male attention more so than actually helping out others, which is the point of the manosphere. But I still saw a glimmer of hope. Then I discovered other content creators. Andrew Tate blew up. Jason Whitlock's show is still in the air for now. And of course I joined the fray. I started producing my own videos after Kevin Samuels died, where I just needed to I needed to inject some Christianity into the manosphere. You know, like I needed to talk, because it's missing. When you see all these debates like Just Pearly Things has on, you know, like I like the conversation, but it's missing something. Wisdom. You know, like a lot of human beings, they're reliant too much on other human beings. And it's like, that's why we're failing. You know, like, let's turn to the Bible. Let's see what God says on it. Let's see what other philosophers say on it. Kings, prophets, you know, like, let's hear what they have to say on it. One thing I really do hope all men take away from this post is to be authentically you, right? It's just like I told women in the post about gynocentrism. You know, are you working so hard to become 1 in a million? Or are you working hard to become one of the millions? As long as you're striving to live by Christ's teachings, reading the Bible to know God and what's right and wrong, you're on the right path. Don't let all these other content creators, whether they're men with beards and stoicism, pull you off that path because they're holding up enticing rewards of getting laid and rich and living it up. When the scripture at Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek first the kingdom of heaven, all things be added unto you," there really is a lot of truth in it. All right, when you prioritize your life and living a godly life so that you have a place in kingdom of heaven, everything else just falls into place. You're more content with what you have. You recognize the blessings that you've been given, so you turn away from things that are holding you back. This results in you being blessed with more things that you didn't have before. Ever since I read the Bible from cover to cover, like, my life has gotten so much more better. I'm a homeowner, I have a clean record, high credit score. You know, I can travel whenever I want. I'm being blessed with more and more because I'm seeking first the kingdom of heaven. I encourage everyone to do the same. Have faith, my brothers and sisters. God knows it's tough out there because Satan has made it tough. But remember the scripture at Romans chapter 5, verse 3 through 5. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. I love those scriptures so much because, it is tough. For all of us single men and single women out there, we're trying to find someone. It's tough. It's not cool being lonely. It is a tough thing to do. But that loneliness, it really does build character, right? I mean, for all of the, I'm not going to get married because I'm just afraid my man will cheat on me. Dude, for some of us who have been single for most of our lives, once we find you, you think we're going to cheat on you? Do you know how hard it took to get you? Come on. All right, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Be on the lookout for the next one. Feel free to like, share, subscribe. And again, thank you.